Hello, YouTube! I thought it would be fun today if I went over my favorite Desperate Housewives characters. That is one of my favorite shows. I mean, who doesn't love a good housewife? Hello?
What? Am I a Nikki fan? Pull up in the Sri Lanka. What? Y'all want me? What?
The show was groundbreaking and it had some crazy plot lines. They had the tornado, they had the plane crash, they had the shooting, and they had those women getting into some nonsense. So for this video, I will go over the prominent figures in the show, and I'll give my thoughts. I'll start with the woman who kicked it off herself, Mary Alice, the show's narrator.
Normally, there's never anything newsworthy about my life, but that all changed last Thursday.
Her narration was a delight throughout the show. We start with her unaliving herself.
When I decided to go to my hallway closet and retrieve a revolver that had never been used.
What a way to start. Like, that set the expectations immediately. Like, oh, this show's gonna be crazy. And it was. She set the tone for the start of the show. She set the tone for every episode. And she walked us through it all. We were seeing the show from the perspective of Mary Alice. That's not to say I don't have some problems with her, though. The main problem I have with Mary Alice is I thought she made some pretty mean comments about Edie.
Susan had met the enemy, and she was a slut.
Spoiler alert to now, Edie is one of my favorite characters, so I might be a little over defensive for her. I don't like a lot of the comments made about Edie and how the other women love to shame her, and Mary Alice participated in that with some of her narration. Like, not a big deal, but I got my eye on you, Mary Alice, and that's why you're dead.
Yes, paybacks. Paybacks.
For what? For what?
Paybacks. It's so funny. It's so funny to me.
Now, Mary Alice herself, she might have died, but she had some involvement with the storylines. She's the one who brought the girls together, but she also left behind her son Zach, and she left behind Paul Young, who is a total psychopath.
And he was going to make sure they'd never forget him again.
You're crazy. Crazy. I think that's about all I have to say about Mary Alice. I'll go to the woman who found her, Martha Huber. She wasn't on the show for very long, but Martha left her impact. Trust and believe. She was the nosy neighbor. She's about what you'd expect. Like, middle-aged, she didn't have any kids with her. She just was free to terrorize the girls and spread gossip, and I loved that. She was camp. Absolutely. There's a lot of camp in this show, and I think Martha personified it great.
Mincemeat used to be an entree made up of mostly chopped meat, so it was like saying, I'll chop you up into little bits.
Martha certainly left her mark. I might even go as far as to say I think she was killed a little too early. Her death certainly had its impact, but I mean, I would have loved a few more episodes of Martha, just personally. Martha, you were fantastic. I remember you. I'll get into one of the main four, I guess. Let's start with Lynette.
Lynette Scavo brought fried chicken.
Ignoring the elephant in the room, hello, Felicity the jailbird.
Actress Felicity Huffman received 14 days behind bars after pleading guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud.
Lynette was never one of my favorites, but she was entertaining. She always had some mess of a storyline going on between her terror twins. She had Tom, who's a big baby.
I've always exuded a certain sexual magnetism, and as I get older, I think it's only becoming more intense.
Are you drunk?
I think that Tom and Lynette were a good pair because they're both pretty terrible. Even sometimes I was like really Tom, you're grown. You can act a little better. And I felt sympathy for Lynette sometimes. But other times I was like, Lynette, you're too much.
Ding dong.
When I was most on Lynette's side is when, oh my gosh, there was that evil little girl, Kayla. I mean, she was a villain, okay? Because I did not like her. I'd never been so happy to see a child suffer as when she was sent away.
I'm sorry how everything turned out.
No, you're not.
Okay then.
Well, speaking of Kayla, shout out to Nora. She was very entertaining.
Thought it was your car I saw on the lot. You're a conniving bitch.
Extremely. The victim of the shooting, how tragic. What an episode that shooting was.
Attention shoppers, we're having a special today on not getting shot, but it's only available at the back of the store.
Although I didn't care for Kayla much, I feel like Lynette was pretty harsh to Nora sometimes. With Lynette, she was in a lot of the major moments of the show. Like, she had the heavy impact from the tornado. She was in the shooting. She's the one who got Nora killed, pretty much. I mean, she didn't pull the trigger, but might as well have.
And she tried to seduce my husband, so... She put the moves on your husband? Why didn't you say so?
She was always going through it. Well, sometimes I was like, yeah, make her suffer a little bit. She's annoying. Other times it's like, geez, even that's a little bit too much. So while Lynette isn't my favorite, I respect Lynette and I found her entertaining most of the time. Let me go to an early character. I'll touch on Betty.
And new neighbors. The kind anyone would want, living right next door.
Just right off the bat, that storyline not only didn't age well, it wasn't very appropriate back then. Like, the optics of having her keeping her son locked up in the basement, it was very disturbing, and that was all a big problem. But I'm gonna speak just on Betty.
It really is a lovely gesture.
I thought she was a very entertaining character. I thought she was a great housewife, and her dynamic with Bree was quite fun to me.
Did you drink? This is not a social call, Bree. Did you or did you not break into my home?
So while I think her storyline is one of the biggest issues with the show, I really did appreciate her as a character, and I enjoyed a lot of her scenes. I'm ready to get into a heavy hitter. I'm gonna talk about Bree Van Camp herself.
Bree Vandekamp, who lives next door, brought baskets of muffins she baked from scratch.
Oh, Bree, the gunslinging. I really lost my head last night. You got a right to... Clean freak.
Take off your coat.
I'm sure Freud would not approve of this.
Oh, who cares what he thinks?
She's just everything. I adore Bree. I think of the main four, Bree is definitely my favorite. What an arc she had. From season 1 to season 8, Bree showed so much growth. She had so much mess. She went through so many different phases. When we first see her, she's with Rex, who's an absolute menace. Rex cries after he ejaculates.
Rex cries after he ejaculates.
So she was stuck, pretty much isolated. She didn't have many friends. She had Rex, who was awful. Her son Andrew, who was a menace at that point. And she also had Danielle, who was like, she wasn't really doing much. So
get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
I mean, it's pretty funny how she had like the gay son and the hoe daughter.
I love the gays.
she was very lonely, and I felt quite terrible for her. Nobody appreciated what she did, keeping the house clean, doing the cooking, doing all the stuff around the house. While Brie definitely had her problems, I still sympathized with her. And then over the course of the show, she just really came into her own. And it was such a delight to watch. I think Marcia is such a fantastic actress. She really killed that role. And some of her line readings were just next level.
No, I cannot kill you today. I have Pilates.
Brie's dynamic with Andrew in particular, oh my gosh, what a mess. I was on her side when she dropped Andrew off on the side of the road.
Every child deserves to be loved unconditionally. And I thought that was the kind of love that I had for you. Maybe if I had it would have been different.
Why do I suddenly get the feeling we're not going to make it out to Perkins College today?
He needed a reality check. He was a menace. He was trying to seduce her man. He just had too much power. Like, Rex really made things difficult for Brie with the kids. And you aren't supposed to get rid of your child, but something had to be done about Andrew. So I'm like, you know what? Brie, I support you. The last few seasons of Brie in particular were just next level. She got arrested. She tried to have a repeat of Mary Alice, but she got stopped thanks to Renee, of all people, who I have nothing but nice things to say, spoiler. I think she was the glue that held the show together all those seasons. And it was kind of a mess when she was out in season 3. The show, it was a mixed bag because they needed her. It wasn't a bad stretch of episodes because we had more focus on Edie, which I always love. But it was off. Like, why couldn't it be Lynette who was gone? I guess I should talk about her love life too, which was a train wreck. Brie started with Rex, who I already said is trash, dumpster, filth.
Trash, filth, trash, garbage, dumpster, trash.
Next, she went on to George, a maniac. It was very entertaining, but oh my gosh, what a maniac. I would have shot him too, Brie. Oh my goodness. And then after that, Orson came into the picture. He was her main love interest through most of the show. I don't like Orson at all. He's insufferable to me. Shout out Twin Peaks, but I don't see it for Orson. Brie's best canon love interest was Carl, Susan's ex. They just had such a chemistry. I was like, wow. It's a shame that he got killed off in the plane crash. I would have liked to see them have the chance to properly explore that. Oh wow, missed opportunity. I have to mention her chemistry with Catherine.
Nothing leaves the kitchen without me tasting it first. Dig in.
I think they should have done it. That should have been the couple. It was fantastic. What a dynamic duo they were. I guess I'll move on to Catherine now. Catherine was a mess. She came in season 4 and she gave the show a burst of energy. She brought new life into the show. Catherine was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Crazy. Okay? And I loved it. I loved every second of Catherine. She was such a delight on the show. Her life was a mess. She had great chemistry with the girls. Going back to the Catherine and Brie dynamic, I just thought they played off of each other so well. They had a lot of similarities. They were like the dream team, truly. Now, even though I say I like Catherine and Brie together, I have to give a shout out to Robin.
Well, in that case, I guess I'll just keep her all to myself.
The Catherine and Robin love story was my favorite Catherine arc in the show. I thought it was a very compelling romance, and it's so refreshing to see the LGBT love stories being told. And it was such a shame how that got shafted in her season 8 return.
I decided I just wasn't into women anymore.
That was so disrespectful. Why even have her return if you're just gonna throw everything she accomplished aside? She got a great exit, and they should have doubled down on her and Robin instead of going the coward's way out. I'm gonna talk about my favorite character, Edie Britt herself.
Hi, I'm Edie. Britt. I live over there.
Edie was unapologetically herself, and I loved every second of it. Call her a villain if you want. I was always on Edie's side. Always.
The queen, literally the queen, and that's how I will always address her.
She was sexually free.
Her conquests were numerous, varied, and legendary.
She just did what she wanted. Edie was very chill, and I really enjoyed that. The other girls were always painting her out to be something she's not. But Edie just did her. That's fabulous. Who can hate Edie? Who can hate Edie? She was never one of the main housewives, but they sure market her like one and act like she is, because she's a star. Absolutely. Nicolette Sheridan, you are fabulous. She always stole the shine from the main girls. In every scene she was in. Scene stealer. Whether it's from a snarky one-liner or her fabulous fashions. I think she was the best dressed in the show. Sorry, Gabby. I think it was Edie.
Edie, is that really you?
You know someone else my age with a body like this?
Just so stunning. I don't know if it's talked about enough because Gabby gets like the fashion girl credit. No, it's Edie for me. Her rivalry with Susan.
Yes, I burnt down your house, you sleazy little whore.
She ate Susan up every time. Susan was so jealous. I think Edie had everything Susan wanted. And I really enjoyed their rivalry because Edie was always on top. Susan's no competition for Edie. You could tell that they just like hated each other, but they had that chemistry. They had the hatred chemistry. It was fantastic. Now I have to comment on the unfortunate death of Edie. What a loss for the show. How could you remove the fan favorite character? Mark Cherry, you should be ashamed. And Dave, you are evil.
Who gave you that?
Nobody gave it to me. I did research. You think I'm too stupid to do research?
Whenever I see that man in any show, he's always taking something from me. I'm sorry, I don't want anybody to be unemployed, but I'm like, well, if you're gonna take all the roles where you kill off my favorite, stop working. Gosh, why'd she have to die? I can't watch her death episode. I can't watch her memorial episode. It's too hard. I just have to like pretend that she like moved away. Because I can't cope with Edie dying. How could she die? She lived quite the life. Edie, fabulous until the end. You will always be missed. You will always be loved. I'll speak on Edie's best friend, Karen McCluskey.
I followed him in, I picked up the candlestick, and I killed that son of a bitch.
Rest in peace to Catherine Joosten. She was a phenomenal actress until the end. And it's unfortunate that Karen met the same fate as her. It was a very tragic end to the show, but she was a force. Karen was a stable force on the show for her entire run. She lived quite the life. Karen's friendship with Edie was probably the single most compelling friendship in the show.
Hey, Karen, your porch light's on.
Whoa. Sitting in your bathrobe drinking and you didn't call me?
They just had such a fantastic dynamic. They really lit up the screen together. They both had the snarkiness to feed off of each other, and they both knew how to stand their ground. I guess it's true what they say, the stars don't always stay until the end of the show. And shout out to Lily Thompson as Roberta.
Well, we really screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah, back to the drawing board.
That sister dynamic, like, we needed that spinoff. What a missed opportunity that was. But Karen, you will always be famous. What a character. Well, I'll just briefly touch on Angie.
But Mrs. Boland's been awfully quiet, though. What do you think?
Me? I'm thinking you full of crap.
She was the best part of the worst season of the show. I'm not like upset that she didn't stick around after season 6, but her season 6 run was pretty good. She was like replacement Edie, I guess, which nobody could ever fill those shoes. Nobody. I think Angie, she was really cool, and if I revisit season 6 on rewatches, it'll be because I remember Angie fondly. I don't like her enough to where I couldn't skip it pretty easily if I don't got time. Sorry, Angie, you're cool. Next, I'll go with Gabby.
Gabrielle Solis, who lives down the block, brought a spicy paella.
Oh, Gabby. You start the show pursuing an underage love. I can't lie and say that they didn't have like a fun dynamic, but it was wrong. It was wrong, Gabby. You should be ashamed. Apart from Brie, Gabby had the most growth on the show. The biggest change came in the 5-year time jump when she became a mother. Oh, those girls were putting Gabby through, especially little Juanita. Oh my gosh, what a character she was.
You said I could have cake.
I know, but so much. You could have gone back for a second piece.
This is my second piece.
Throughout Gabby's growth, she always kept the fabulosity. I don't think she was much competition for Edie on that front, but Gabby was undeniably fabulous. She was fierce. She always left her mark. I really enjoyed Gabby's friendship with Brie. They really played well off each other, but when Brie was going through it in that last season, I'll never forget what Gabby did by not being there for her. Really, Gabby? Really?
And I was so grateful for that. Liar! All of you liars! Because as soon as it got rough, as soon as there was any trouble, it all became my fault.
Although I appreciated how far Gabby's come throughout the show, what happened with her and Brie will always just weigh in the back of my mind. Where I'm like, I don't really respect you too much. They're all messy in this show. But at the end of the day, I'm always gonna side with Brie over the other 3 main girls. So, sorry, Gabby. You messed with Brie, so I'm a little pissed at you still. But Gabby, she was a fun character, and I can give her that. I enjoyed her. Her storylines were a bit of a mixed bag here and there, but overall, it's mostly positive thoughts when I think of Gabby. I guess I have to mention her relationship with Carlos.
Carlos, you son of a bitch! I am pregnant and it's all your fault!
Toxic, the first word that comes to mind. They have an undeniable chemistry. I'll give them that, but ooh, they're toxic. Hey. If it works for them, what am I supposed to do? Let me talk about late edition Renee Perry.
Ladies, there's a new housewife in town.
Played by the fabulous Vanessa Williams, who just put out Everybody Better Go Stream Legs.
They say the legs are the last to go. I'ma keep dancing.
What a song. I thought Renee was a perfect fit for the show. She was clearly meant to be another replacement Edie, which that void will never be filled. But Renee definitely brought what the show needed. And I thought she gave those last 2 seasons a good bit of energy. Renee was such a source of comedy. And since she wasn't as in it as the other 4, she got to have the lighter end of things, I'd say.
You two having a fight?
Yeah, kinda.
Well, you won't even know I'm here.
Her dynamic with Bree after she saved Bree's life, I really appreciated that. I feel like she was the only one who had Bree's back. And that really meant a lot to me. But I have nothing but nice things to say about Renee. She brought it. Absolutely. Somebody else who had a very strong season 7 was Felicia.
I'm Felicia Tillman. Martha's sister.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Felicia is the most chaotic character in this show. And I'm obsessed with her.
Oh, she's taking it.
She makes her debut when she is ready to get revenge for the death of Martha, her sister, who she doesn't even like very much. But she's still gonna get justice. Absolutely. And did. Paul Young was no competition for Felicia. What a fun rivalry that was, okay? Felicia was camp personified. When she set her mind to something, she went and did it. She didn't care how crazy it was. She cut off her fingers. Oh my gosh. Like,
Did you kill Paul? No. He killed me.
What?
They'll find my blood in his house and my fingers in the car, and he'll spend the rest of his life in prison.
Felicia, well, this show always had me gasping. I think I got the most gasp when it came to Felicia. Shout out to Beth. Poor Beth was really having a rough go of things. I enjoyed her.
Should we help her?
Son of a bitch!
But wow, poor Beth and everything that happened to her. May she rest in peace. She was just a victim of Felicia's feud. What I most appreciated about Felicia was when she tried to poison Susan.
Oh, Susan. If your casseroles had been any better, he would have had seconds, and none of this would be happening.
Susan, stay out of it. It's none of your business. So she gave Susan what needed to be done. But then, unfortunately, Felicia met her tragic end in the car crash. A fitting ending, I suppose, but you hate to see a baddie pass. You do. But Felicia was so fun, and I don't think Felicia gets enough love for everything she did for the show. Season 7 was hers. It was. I know you're usually supposed to save the best for last, but I saved the worst for last. It's time to talk about Susan.
Susan Mayer, who lives across the street, brought macaroni and cheese.
Being quirky is her personality trait. Oh my gosh, she was constantly struggling and like, it's embarrassing, Susan. Get your act together. You know, she thought she was being cute, but you weren't being cute, Susan. Susan is the biggest hater in the show, and she cared about nobody but herself and, oh, Mike. It's pathetic, Susan. You're pathetic. And I was laughing when Mike died because I was so happy you finally lost something. I love to see Susan lose. Like, I loved when she was out in the middle of the street crying in a wedding dress.
No, Mike, please! Come back! Come back!
She lost all her feuds because she's really easy to eat up, quite frankly.
Hello, Edie. Do you have something you'd like to say? No, that pretty much says it all.
Susan had a superiority complex. She always thought she was better than the girls, and she never was. All the other girls had more interesting stuff going on. They had better personalities, and Susan really had nothing going for her. I feel bad for Julie. Shout out Julie. She basically had to raise herself and Susan at the same time because Susan's so immature. Susan's storyline when she moved to that apartment and she started doing those videos. Oh my gosh, like, really, Susan?
And you don't let me put my feet on that table.
Oh my gosh, Susan. The moment that still scars me to this day is the painting. I don't even need to say anything. Why, Susan? Why? Really, Susan? What possessed you?
Susan, this isn't art. It's an illustrated confession.
I'm left wondering, like, how much the behind-the-scenes drama really impacted the show. You can really tell that all those girls hated Terry, and Terry hated all those girls. That's a story for another time. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Susan, you will never be the star of the show, no matter how much they try to tell us otherwise. You got outshined. Sorry, not sorry.
Even the most desperate life is oh so wonderful.
Well, that wraps up my character opinions. It has been a few years since I last watched the show, but the fact that I'm able to talk about it this much should just show how significant it is and how I'm always running it through my mind. Maybe I'll dive deeper into it one of these days when I rewatch, because I know there's lots to discuss. And hey, there's also Devious Maids. Oh, what a show that was. Well, stay tuned. Bye.